Welcome back to the Pot of Greed.
That's right. Week 22, if you can believe it.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know.
We just cruised by our 20th episode. I forgot all about it.
Yeah, we're in the roaring 20s. Well, we'll maybe be able to do something special for the 25th. It would fit the Yu-Gi-Oh theming, I
Hopefully
think.
our roaring 20s goes a bit better than America's.
Yeah. We're in the roaring 2020s right now. It's going...
It's definitely going somewhere.
It's going.
Yeah. To all our listeners that aren't in America, good job.
Or something.
Hats off to you.
Yeah, so let's see. This is going to be an exciting week. This will be our last time recording at this particular location.
Inflation finally got to us, guys.
Yeah, you'll see us somewhere else next week.
We don't even know what it's going to look like next week.
Yeah, there's no telling. But you'll see us. More importantly,
we'll still try to have these up, though.
More importantly, though, there is some Yu-Gi-Oh news that we have to discuss.
Not as
so
much
imperative.
as in
It's so
weeks.
important. There's a lot going on.
Really?
No.
Oh.
There's really not much. But I think probably the biggest story would actually be the Rush Duel. It's like Seven's World dropping in Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links.
That's right. As you guys may or may not know, depending on if you've watched our main channel recently, and I know you haven't because I looked at the view counts, so go check that out. Stop what you're doing now and go look at that video. All right, now that you're back, you see that we got to have a sneak peek at the Rush Duel update for Duel Links.
Yeah. They're adding Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, they're adding the Rush Duel World. I know some of this information has been, it's been closely followed by more, devout, I guess, Duel Links sort of content creators, news sources.
They've leaked information that I didn't even know about, and I was there for the sneak peek.
Yeah, but it was a really cool thing. Konami invited us out to their HQ in California. We got to, check out the Rush Duel World, try out the duels and stuff early, learn some information.
Honestly, before we even get into Rush Duels, I just want to talk about the Konami HQ.
Really a cool place.
It was actually really dope. We've been to Konami's headquarters once before, but it was a different building.
I think they've changed buildings.
They switched buildings, so this was another brand new experience. If you're a fan of any of Konami's IPs, find your way into that building. I don't know how you're gonna do it. Yeah. Just find your way.
I don't know how, but it's really cool. They have all the different video games that they've made. They have
multiple snake statues.
Yeah, different statues of different
of Solid Snake.
Yeah, Solid Snake, artwork and stuff. They have a giant Blue Eyes alternative White Dragon statue that I think was used when Dark Side of Dimensions released.
Which was years ago.
So that was in 2016, I believe. But yeah, I guess when they were doing the promotions for that, they used that statue, and they now have it at the office. And it's really cool. It's even bigger in person than it looks in the pictures that we've put on social media.
Yeah, the thing is massive, yeah.
Yeah, it's really massive, really detailed. So that's a really cool thing. There's just a lot of really neat stuff there. It's kind of one of those reminders that Konami doesn't just make Yu-Gi-Oh. They
don't do too much of that nowadays, but they have.
Yeah, they have a history of different video games. And they are still making the Metal Gear Solid remakes and stuff like that. So
lots of pachinko machines.
Probably a few of those as well. Those weren't at the office, but I'm sure they're at their offices in Japan or something.
I forgot Konami made DDR, Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah, I forgot they made Frogger.
Me too.
If you can believe that. I forgot they made Frogger.
But I didn't forget that I was surprised they remember that they made was the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game.
Oh, they made those, okay.
Or they weren't all arcade games, but those old TMNT side scrollers, Konami made those. That was crazy.
Yeah, so they their office is filled with all sorts of cool stuff like that, just kind of in the lobby area. It's really neat.
They have multiple consoles set up where you can play different. Well, at least the ones I was on had Metal Gear games on them, but I imagine they had other games on those too. But they had 4 different consoles.
Yeah. It was really cool. I just thought it was a neat place. So we got to go out there, work with some of the Konami employees from the Konami digital team to bring a bit of I guess you could call it a sneak peek, unless you follow leaks.
For us, it was a sneak peek.
Yeah, for us it was. It was a really cool thing. I will say this, since a lot of people. Well, what do you think of Rush Duels? Having actually played the mode within Duel Links, its implementation. Let's deep dive it.
Rush Duels is actually, it's pretty fun. I can't lie. I think had this been the bare bones dry Rush Duels that we got with the Switch game that released, I don't think I would have had as much fun because that's
So what changed it for you in this one?
skills, actually.
Yeah, they use skill cards.
Skills spice up and liven up what I would call caveman rush duels. Rush duels, the rubber banding of the whole I draw five, now you draw five. We play out all of our cards, and that it could be a little stale on the Switch game, but skills let you make more dynamic plays and probably earlier than you could if you didn't have skills.
Yeah, so I guess for people who might not have heard of what Rush Duels is, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens was the seventh Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime to come out, but it was a little bit different than the ones before it because they were playing a new type of Yu-Gi-Oh! That the main character in the anime, Yuga, from Goha Elementary School, I believe is Goha Elementary School. For some reason, I always called it Gohan. Gohan Elementary.
That's not funny because Paul, it's already been confirmed you can't tell a difference between Gohan and Goku.
Shh. Anyways, I really can't. Yeah, so he and his friends, they've kind of created this thing called Rush Duel, and they're trying to spread it to the world. And so they made Rush Duel
specifically, like in opposition of traditional Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Like they have normal Yu-Gi-Oh in that world, and they're like, nah, that's for old people.
Yeah, they made Rush Duel because regular Yu-Gi-Oh feels too convoluted and difficult to play. Sound familiar? So that's why they made Rush Duel, and yeah, it's really cool. The game itself actually is a physical thing in Japan, so you can buy the physical cards, and
that's what I was doing the whole time I was in Japan.
Yeah, when we visited Japan last month, we did actually even see like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel Kids League that was doing its finals when we were at Worlds, and that was very cool.
Those kids, they were playing some good Rush Duels too. And they were using cards that we remembered, like Jinzo and Barrier Statue of Infernos.
Which is not nearly as broken of a floodgate in Rush Duel, because how Rush Duel works is that each turn you draw until you have 5 cards at the beginning of your turn, but also you have unlimited normal summons. And I think something that a lot of people... So the idea with having unlimited normal summons means it's very easy to get monsters in the field. It's very easy to do tribute summons. And you'll always have monsters in the field if you need ammo for any type of spell and trap effects. I'd say that what separates Rush Duel the most, though, is the fact that the power level of the game is quite low. Most level 4 monsters have, like, at most 1,500 attack points, and honestly, most are even weaker than that.
They are not very chunky.
They don't have huge stats. And then also, because you're tribute summoning a lot, the tribute summon monsters don't often have, like, super powerful effects. So... you're able to tribute summon them, usually get a lot of attacks in, and then your opponent can always make a comeback, because it's kind of the mantra of Rush Duel that they talk about on the show, is that you're never out of a Rush Duel. You always get to keep playing. You always get to, you never know what your next 5 cards will be, and they can allow you to make a comeback.
I think I mentioned in that video, as a modern day Yu-Gi-Oh player, there's something that feels so gratifying and so crazy about starting your turn with 0 cards in hand and drawing 5. Just
each turn it feels
fills
like
up your hand
crazy.
immediately.
And crazy in a good way, because I was reading like comments in that video where some people were just sort of like, oh, okay, this Rush Duel isn't for me. My response to that would be, give it a shot and then decide if you truly don't like it. I'm not saying that you have to love it, right? Like, this isn't a sponsored podcast bit. Like, this is just me saying, like, I think it was pretty cool. I got to play it. I enjoyed it. I think that everybody should give it a shot. Don't just buy into the whole idea, because like it's so easy to be jaded on the internet, right?
I'm jaded all the time.
Right, like it's easy to sit here and say like, oh, I saw it looks kiddie and stupid, or what, unlimited normal summons, that sounds dumb. I'm not gonna try. But I will say, give it a shot and see if it changes your mind. Play a few games. It's pretty easy. I think like you can just hop right into the Sevens world and just like
pretty much
get
immediately
a starter deck or whatever.
You get
free.
A free starter deck just to get you started, and those cards aren't stellar, but
they're serviceable. You can play against other people who have the
they'll get your feet wet. No one else is gonna have such vastly better cards, because like Paul said, the power level in Rush Duel is quite low. I think the thing that might tip the scales are just the skills that the characters have. Those skills are actually pretty strong and pretty meaningful.
Yeah, and I'll also say there are 2 sort of points of worry that I've seen people say, besides just I think Rush Duel is dumb, is people saying like, Well, if it's just a bunch of normal summons, it's the same as modern Yu-Gi-Oh. Yes and no. My response to that would be the summons themselves are simply a vehicle to do things. And so to expound on that more, the monsters don't like have effects. A lot of the monsters that you're summoning are like vanillas, or they might have a basic effect like
Those effects are
you can discard a card to decrease a monster's attack by 500. Like we're talking that kind of level of effect.
These are effects that they don't immediately impact the game state. You have to like kind of make them impact the game state.
Right.
The winner of a Rush Duel is the person who figures out how to use these kind of like minute effects to like turn the game on its head, even though they shouldn't. Because a lot of these cards are like, switch a monster's battle position.
Yeah, like it's very, very, low level stuff, at least low power stuff. It can certainly add up though when you're making comeback turns. So like on your first turn, maybe that stuff's not all that useful. But like once your opponent's kind of summoned a lot of stuff, you'll really appreciate being able to switch a monster to defense mode that has like 2,400 attack, but only maybe 1,000 defense. Now you can swing over it. Or decreasing something's attack or something.
And it's not a slow game either. I mean, you can start making meaningful plays as soon as turn 2. Just that, given that they give you like 6,000 life points to start with, at least in Duel Links, you usually, even if your opponent makes a big play on turn 2, you're probably not losing. So now you get to make a big play. Potentially.
Yeah. So, I'm not trying to like shill it or sit here and like, say it's so perfect. I don't know that it's perfect. I'm sure that there are issues. I didn't really play enough of it to run into anything that like upset me in particular. I think that it's just something where it might not be for you. But again, I just say try it out and let it prove to you that it's not for you, if that makes sense. Don't just, write it off because it could be fun.
I do think that there's a certain type of modern Yu-Gi-Oh player that Rush Duels is just never going to be.
It wasn't going to land for
game.
them.
Mm-hmm. But I think that if you're a modern Yu-Gi-Oh player, it is your duty to pass Rush Duel on to someone who will appreciate it.
That's a good way to put it.
Because, like we discussed with Cross Duel, if these things fail, Konami is going to experiment less and less in the future. So even if you don't want to play Rush Duels, even if you don't want to spend your gems on it, even if you hate the very concept of it, please just pass it on to somebody who doesn't
somebody
play,
else. Because I do think it's really well suited for young players. I think it's well suited for newer players. It actually does answer a lot of the issues people have with modern Yu-Gi-Oh, where like it can feel like going first just means you instantly win, or that you make 10-minute turns and unbreakable boards. Rush Duel turns aren't that long, despite the fact that you're doing a lot of summoning. Mm-hmm. Again, these are vanilla monsters. You are just summoning vanillas and then tributing them for like other vanillas or weak effect monsters, and then like ending your turn, and then like it kind of goes back and forth. So the turns go by quite quickly, and there aren't floodgates. There aren't like things that just say like your opponent can never do any of this thing ever. Like the closest thing that it's got to like a floodgate is Gavin's one monster where like
Yami Ruler.
Yeah, Yami Ruler, where like when it's been summoned, it can switch itself to defense.
So it can attack that turn.
Yeah, so that your opponent cannot tribute summon on their next turn. Like that's
a level
a floodgate.
7 or higher monster.
Yeah. So exactly, like it's such, so it's really interactive. It's pretty fun. I'd say that it kind of captures the anime tension really well, like kind of the push and pull, and it's a little bit different than Yu-Gi-Oh is. And also, one thing I think is really cool about it is they write out the effects better. They have requirement,
very clear.
Effect, requirement, effect. It's not like how in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, or I say modern, it's how in Yu-Gi-Oh there's not really a consistent distinction about like what, like what's a cost and like what all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just,
And your turn is your turn. There are pretty much no like spell speed 2 effects in Rush Duels.
Yeah, there's some traps that like lower the opponent's monster's attack, and there's like, that's
really it. There's not a whole lot of things your opponent can do during your turn. So your turn is really your turn to do what you want.
Yeah, I think that if I had to give any concerns I would maybe have about Rush Duel, and I'm not even concerns about the system. I think it works fine. I think it being attached to Duel Links could maybe limit its potential, just because I know that for Duel Links, there are a lot of people who just do not play Duel Links and have kind of made their decision that Duel Links isn't for me, so to speak. And so to them, they'll just think, okay, this Rush Duel thing is, it's not going to change my mind. I don't play Duel Links, or I'm past playing Duel Links.
But I mean but a part of that is also the beauty of Duel Links. It's a free to play app. So when Rush Duel releases, I mean, it actually won't cost you anything to at least try it. You know?
Yeah, that's true. And like, I want to, be clear on that, because I don't want people to just think like we're just shilling for it. I don't really get any benefit if you download, right? Like,
click our affiliate.
Yeah,
link.
like I don't have, if you download it, it doesn't get any money in our pocket. So don't worry. I'm telling the truth here.
I just want this to be successful because I want a Dungeon Dice Monsters game.
I want it to be successful for even just the slightest chance that they might do a physical product version of it. I know that's probably not going to happen, but I really do think a physical Rush Duel game could be a lot of fun and could really be like sort of some of what Yu-Gi-Oh needs in the sense of like a soft reboot. It's just that, like, I know that probably from Konami's end, that's a lot of commitment to like kind of get another product out on the market in the already very...
We already have the
tight,
Speed Duel format. I mean,
and that confused people too, because it was like, wait, Speed Duel, Rush Duel, what the hell? That's the same thing. And I have friends that I can imagine saying that exact
Duel,
thing.
Rush Duel, isn't that what Yusei was doing in 5Ds?
Yeah, it's like, no, there's a Turbo Duel. And it's just like this. Yeah, so I mean, I think that the naming maybe conflicts a bit with Speed Duel, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I say just give it a shot, and if you just truly think it's not for you, then tell some casual at locals to maybe try it or something. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, that's Rush Duel. Check out our video on it. Shout out to Konami. They, brought us out there to check it out. I genuinely do hope it succeeds. I think it has a lot of promise. I enjoyed myself. I think everybody should try it. Anything else on it? I mean, Al, you were the one in the video more so than me. I wasn't really.
I was just thinking about how this is more of like a game mechanic thing, less of a plug for play Rush Duel now. But we talked about before how people always say Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a resource system, and I always posit that the Yu-Gi-Oh's resource system was the monsters, and that form of Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe caveman style Yu-Gi-Oh, is very slow, it's very antiquated, and Power Creep kind of like did away with all that, right?
Yeah.
In Rush Duels, it feels like an evolution of monsters are your resource. Because every turn you will have 5 cards in hand. Every like level 4 or lower monster is a resource to summon your bigger monsters. So you still have that whole, I use my little monsters to make big monsters, but next turn, you get another set, or virtually another set of 5 cards to do that all over again with. So it defeats the whole caveman Yu-Gi-Oh is slow mentality where I can only summon 1 monster a turn and I can just try and keep my monster on board so I can tribute it next turn. No, you'll do all that in 1 turn. So you get the gratification of playing your biggest monsters, your ace monsters, every single duel.
Yeah,
your opponent
quickly.
Can't stop you. The game isn't going to take forever. Like on turn 4, you're going to make 7-Year-Old Magician or Dragius, or you could do it on turn 1.
And I would add a caveat to that too is you have to, I think, to enjoy Rush Duel, try like really hard to view it as its own game, because while it is fundamentally very similar to Yu-Gi-Oh, like it's kind of based in the same principles, so many things that exist in modern Yu-Gi-Oh it doesn't work the same way. So like I was saying earlier, where people are like, well, summoning a bunch of monsters is the same thing. It's not like the same thing. Like the implications of it are way different. And when Alec says you get to summon your boss monster like, first turn every duel or whatever, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh that sounds like maybe what some people might dislike about modern Yu-Gi-Oh is the fact that I'm going to drop Barone and Apollosa and all that stuff like on turn 1. These boss monsters are not like you can't play cards. They don't have negations. They don't have like these like protections and stuff.
They get kind of big or they attack multiple times.
Yeah, usually they just summon themselves out. They do kind of the boss monster thing, which is get big or maybe do multiple summons or something. And then at the end of the turn, they kind of go back down to just being, they're there, but either their attack is lower or they're just not able to, stop your opponent. So many things just take on a different role, and like it's not, so.
And I highly recommend everybody play the Luke deck, the multi-strike Dragius deck. It's very fun and easy to use. So
yeah, I would say it's probably the most like instantly just effective.
I think more than likely that deck will be the one that takes off in Duel Links.
Certainly for beginners.
I think early on it will. Maybe over time, people will like adjust for it and they'll figure it out. But I think as far as if you want to just get in and hit the ground running, I had a very easy time adjusting for it and playing with it, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, honestly.
Yeah, so that's Rush Duel basically. I mean, give it a shot. It's fun. There's a lot of different, skills, characters, cards,
and lots of references to the modern game.
Yeah, a lot of those too. A lot of cards are funny, like different takes on existing Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
I've seen a lot of speed Rush Duel cards. I've seen a lot of them. What I didn't expect was that one trap. Because I commented about this when I was doing my demo of the game. There's a trap called Power Bind, Power Grip, Power something. And Baylordrock, like Doom King Baylordrock, is on the trap's artwork. Because I was surprised because up until that point, Rush Duel cards would reference like classic Yu-Gi-Oh monsters.
Yeah, but there's also some modern ones.
And then there's Baylordrock, and I'm like, yo!
Yeah, you might see some of your favorite old cards in very different forms in Rush Duel.
Yeah, I really hope we get those the Jersey Yu-Gi-Oh cards where they just have these classic monsters wearing jerseys.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things. Like it's really, there's like a Pot of Greed turtle, I remember, like a tortoise. There's Diane Keto, the like sexy.
Oh, you mean the baddie
thing?
Diane Keto, the baddie.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. So yeah, take a look at just give Rush Duel a shot, or tell someone to give it a shot, or whatever.
And if not, just go check out our video on it.
Yeah, watch our vid at least. Give us some positive engagement. God knows could use it. Okay, so that's Rush Duel, I believe.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Oh, I did have one thing because people have been just dropping all information that I had no idea about.
Oh.
So when we looked at the demo, we saw that like Dark Magic Attack is a Rush Duel card in Duel Links, but we didn't see Dark Magician. Well, that's because they're having a campaign for the release of Yu-Gi-Oh 7s in Duel Links. You can get a Dark Magician, a UR Dark Magician Rush version. So I guess there's going to be a Speed Duel Dark Magician and a Rush Duel Dark Magician. A UR Dream ticket, SR Dream ticket, a skill ticket, character unlock ticket, 7 gems, and accessories. So even if you aren't really trying to play Rush Duels, I think we can all do with some more like Dream tickets, huh? Like it's a pretty good resource in that game.
Yeah. So.
But that was it. I saw that and I wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. So cool. Try it out. Okay, next bit of Yu-Gi-Oh news is the OCG got a ban list. So I didn't really know like too much. I don't follow the OCG very closely. I really don't. So I don't have too much clue what this really means for it.
Did they ban Max C?
No.
Oh. Don't they know it's broken?
So basically, so I'll go through this kind of quick, but this was kind of a list that seemed like it was aimed at hitting TR elements even more, since I know that it, despite having already been hit a good bit in the OCG, is still pretty strong. They banned Agito, Kelbeck, Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon.
I love seeing that go.
And number 86, Heroic Champion Rongominiad.
Rongo was, I guess Rongo.
Yeah, it was actually legal in the OCG, but it's no longer. So definitely some Ashizu cards getting hit there. Chaos Ruler, a card I'm not particularly fond of, although it getting forbidden doesn't change anything for me. I mean, maybe a little bit of Master Duel will soon make me happy, but...
Do you think Konami made a mistake with TR Elements, or do you think this was by design?
I think Konami did not make a mistake with TR Elements. I think that they made a mistake with the Ashizu cards.
Oh.
I think that TR Elements as an archetype is pretty interesting and like works as designed. Like I think it's fine. I don't find any of the monsters individually to be like super overpowered. I think just the Asiju stuff just pushes it over the edge because it's just so much milling, and then it adds elements of like disruption with like the shufflers, and so they limited Tier Elements Kashtira from 3 to 1, and Block Dragon went from 2 to 1.
Block Dragon could just be a 0.
I don't know. I didn't know that Block Dragon was actually legal in the OCG at all.
They have Max C, so
yeah, they have Max C. So I guess they feel
Block
like
Dragon at your own risk.
Yeah. And then semi-limited, they've got Rescue Ace Airlifter, went from 3 to 2.
Rescue Ace haven't done much in the TCG yet, so I can't speak on it.
I mean, they've been picking up some traction. I know that at that last YCS, the last couple YCSs, they've been like sneaking in a few top spots. So.
I know they've been creeping up, but they haven't made a big enough impact for me to read the card yet.
Soon. Pirelli Delicious Memory went to 2. Rivalry of Warlords, so it's a floodgate. Gearsu, the
Wait, what did it do?
Rivalry of Warlords went from 3 to 2. These are all cards that are going to 2.
It's a weird hit.
Yeah, and it's another floodgate. People aren't too fond of them, and maybe that particular one is more relevant right now for them.
This 3 to 2 is weird.
Yeah, a little odd, huh?
Yeah, it is. It feels like the smallest of consistency hits.
I mean, this whole list is like eerily similar to the Master Duel, like kind of approach to hitting things, shaving off consistency here and there, and that kind of thing. Although there are a lot of hits on it, so that's maybe not as Master Duel like. Gearsu, the Orcust Mech Knight, went from 1 to 2.
Oh, that's nice.
Supreme King Dragon Darkworm went from 1 to 2. Dragonic Diagram from 1 to 2, and Fluanderies and the Magnificent Map from 1 to 2. Finally, they unlimited Armageddon Knight completely, Super Heavy Samurai Bike, Prank Kids Meow Meow Mew, and Trickstar Light Stage. So
they had Trickstar Light Stage limited?
I thought it was limited in the TCG still. Or
it
is
is
it not?
Oh, I didn't know.
It was for a long time. It's kind of Trickstar Light Stage falls into that category of cards where it's just like a product of a time period, and then once it's been like it goes in the list and you kind of forget about it, and then when it comes off, you don't even remember if it came off or not. I don't know if anybody else has that problem with like remembering cards, but like it just happens to me with archetype specific stuff.
You know what card that should have happened to, but we're gonna remember only because our ban list was so small? Gazelle. I think Gazelle would have moved up to 3 if there had been a bigger list. Gazelle moving up to 3 would have been a very small footnote, and in 2 years we'd be wondering, did Gazelle ever come back?
Right. Are you talking about like our recent TCG list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that recent TCG list was so small that I just feel like it in a sense, I could almost still see myself just forgetting that this list happened, like this last TCG list.
I mean, true. I mean, they didn't. We'll remember it for Arise Heart. Rest in peace.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's the list. Very large list. A lot of cards coming on, going off. I think this is a little bit more akin to what people probably want out of TCG lists.
That's right. Rivalry to 2.
Yeah, that's what we want. I mean, but I think with TCG lists, people certainly do look for more, just more net changes. And that's what this list screams, is just a lot of net changes. 4 banned cards, 4 banned cards, that's huge. 4 banned cards, 2 different limited cards, like 8 or so different like semi-limited cards, and then like 6 or 7 things went like unlimited.
That is a lot of movement.
It's very, and I think people like that. Like I made a video about it before, but I really do believe that people enjoy that. People almost care about these lists more so for just doing something than nothing.
So you think they care more about the movement is more important than what is actually moving.
Right. I would almost argue that it's kind of people are more concerned with quantity than quality. Almost. But I think that obviously there is still people still want what they deem to be good hits. But I think that more than anything, people just get excited at the idea that like, hey, this thing went to 3, this thing went to 2, this thing went to 1, and all these other cards went here and there, because it just freshens up the meta. And like, maybe not to go into too much of a tangent here, but I think
all we do in this
pod. I think with modern Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're a little bit annoyed with kind of just the general funk of modern Yu-Gi-Oh,
try Rush Duels.
Then I think ban lists offer a great way to kind of reset, they respark your interest, rekindle your kind of competitive fire. So when they're small and it feels like nothing happened, then your frustrations get to kind of creep back up, and you're like, oh, but I'm still frustrated with these floodgates. I'm still frustrated with these things. Understandably, so.
I wonder how many cards would have need to move on our past ban list for people to say it was a good ban list, but this is the kicker. Arise Heart does not get touched.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Like, I feel like they'd have to have like hit like every other Kashtira card or something. Just put them all in one, maybe then.
Oh Lord.
I mean, I do think that there's something to be said about like the fact that there's not like that question you asked is like a moving target because no one really even knows exactly what their ideal ban list is. Like they know what their ideal ban list is, but there isn't a community ideal ban list because
it really can't be.
Everyone's like kind of angry about a different kind of set of cards or annoyed with a different set of cards, or some people think that it would be healthier if this thing happened. It's funny when that list dropped. I know we're supposed to be talking about the OCG list, but interesting list. That's all I can say about it. We're going to talk about the TCG one now.
We're back and talking about the TCG ban list. It's 2 weeks ago, y'all.
So I remember though, like people were saying, like there were people who were like mad that Arise Heart got banned. There were a few people who were like, what? Like why did they ban this? Y'all complain too much. Like Arise Heart's not that bad. And I'm like, that's so weird because I remember feeling like universally everyone thought Arise Heart should be banned, but then like it got banned and there were still people who didn't want it to be banned.
The Arise Heart lovers just knew to be quiet in those situations.
Right.
They just weren't saying anything.
And that's actually what I was going to say is that like it's one of these tricky parts about like assessing community sentiment, because the people that are okay with things will never be the people that complain about them. And so this is like a really key thing in like kind of community management and marketing, is that there's kind of this saying of like, you know, like don't listen to the fans, which isn't meant to be taken literally, like that you do not listen to the fans, but rather
disable comments.
Yeah, not the Konami approach. But rather that, you know, you kind of no one fan's take is like necessarily the right or wrong one. They're just takes. And, you know, you can hear that and go, well, no, they should like listen to all of us because like we're the ones who play the game and like we're buying the cards and we're going to the events. So like,
but there's millions of.
But the thing is, there's a lot of people who go to events. Like I go to events and think this card should be banned. You go to events and think that card should be banned.
No, that's not true. I don't go to any events anymore.
I was saying you as in the listener.
Oh, okay.
The proverbial listener, the mini.
Y'all.
It's just
gotta let the Southern out.
So it's like what makes my opinion more valid than, you know, your opinion? Like there's nothing really. We're both just two Yu-Gi-Oh players.
You do have a platform.
But it doesn't. But even that, like even being a YouTuber, I don't think actually means I'm right, because I say some what apparently people think is dog shit takes. So
that's true. We should rename this the Trash Taste Podcast.
Trash Takes
Podcast. Oh, hope I don't like violate some type of infringement there.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, so that's the thing. And so you take that problem, right? So like listener A, who is listening to this, thinks X should come unbanned, and I think it shouldn't, right? Now you multiply that by the like tens of thousands of, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh players, and they all kind of have slightly different takes on things. So if you're Konami in that situation, who do you listen to? I don't know. Like, who would you like? You're Konami, Alec. Who you listen to?
Well, so I would do like group sampling. So I would get like a competitive player, I'd get a kind of middling player, and I'd get an extremely casual player. And the three of them would decide the ban list.
Yeah, they just sit in a room. You lock them in there. Don't give them food or water.
So like,
they come out with.
It'll be like Jesse Cotton. To be you.
Yeah, I'm a middle of the road.
And
trash.
And my best friend from middle school. He doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but we used to play back in middle school.
And the three of us just.
And you guys will decide the ban list.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I know like I remember Jesse Cotton got a lot of heat actually back in the day for telling people to like get good with like the Mystic Mind thing. Where he was saying that like, you know, the card's like annoying, but like you better plan for it, and like if you can't beat it, then like get good. And people were like, I remember he got some heat for that. And he's like literally respected as, the GOAT of this game.
But but he wasn't the GOAT until this year.
Yeah, see, I guess back then maybe people were like, you crazy, you just don't get it, and beat me at locals
You're
last week.
only a multi-time ICS winner then?
How dare you? But like that's the thing. I think like Yu-Gi-Oh's a hard game to parse. So even when, you're listening to us on here, we're just talking.
We're just shooting the breeze. Our opinions don't mean much more than you guys. That's why, like, when we read the
I don't
comments,
know more. I think we know more.
When we read it's a little bit more because we can delete your comments. But
I guess that's
but when we read your comments, that's the same thing as you listening to us and disagreeing with our takes. We read the comments and we disagree with you guys all the time. Just because, no one really has an advantage here.
Yeah.
Except we can delete your comments.
Yeah, and I don't really even delete. I like.
I have.
Wow, monster. I don't know. So I know that kind of is a bit of a tangent, but it's one of those things where ban lists are tough, and I do not envy Konami's job because people are going to be kind of angry no matter what you do. So
I think the jury is still out on the whole. How do you balance a game?
Yeah.
Especially a game that's supposed to be competitive, but it's also a game that has to sell and appeal to a wide, broad audience. How do you balance?
It's so interesting, actually, because this is great. I didn't expect us to have much. There wasn't much Yu-Gi-Oh news, so this is good. It gives us something to talk about because I've got my opinions. So I really have started to the more I play Yu-Gi-Oh, play Master Duel, listen to
he plays a lot
the internet. Like I really like to read comments. I get on Twitter. I drop a controversial take or two here and there. Gets people talking.
What's crazy is those are just his honest thoughts, and they're always controversial. We don't get it.
They're mostly honest.
You're chaotic. You're just chaos.
Chaotic, yeah. And so I sit here and like it's kind of intriguing because I'll sit and I'll listen to people use these words like this is unhealthy. And I've always kind of wondered what does that mean really? Like someone else will say like this card is unhealthy for the game. But like by whose standard really?
And it's a crazy question because what makes a game healthy?
Yeah, like what makes a game healthy, and also like what gives anyone the right to claim, like what accolades or like license do you really have to just get to say that this is unhealthy for you? Because that's a big statement, isn't it?
Because like, is a game healthy because like its top players are having a lot of fun and making a lot of money at their tournaments? Is a game healthy because its products keep selling out? They fly off the shelves. Everyone's buying them.
Yeah.
Is a game healthy because like the shops are just full of Yu-Gi-Oh product and they can't get enough of the stuff?
Yeah, like there's so many different ways to define it, and so I'll hear people say these things like, Dimension Shifter is an unhealthy card, right? That's a fun, controversial one. Have at it in the comments, right? But say Dimension Shifter. It's a 3. A lot of people don't like it, or at least it seems like a lot of people don't like it. If you were to read comments from, your average kind of hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh person on, Twitter or maybe like Facebook or YouTube comments, you might get the impression that, everyone seems to hate Dimension Shifter, right?
That's
it
true.
Seems like everyone hates it.
Seems they all do hate it.
But then, a lot like the Arise Heart example from before, if Dimension Shifter were to get banned, there'd be a lot of people who'd be like, yay, that's great. Then there'd be people who were like, why did Konami ban this? They didn't need to ban this. You guys complain too much. Because the thing is, the people who maybe like Dimension Shifter are not defending it or like shouting its praises because they're
busy playing
it. They're busy playing it. They're happy that it exists and they're fine with it and they don't see an issue. And so someone's gonna. So the typical comment that you'd maybe read in that situation would be something along the lines of, well, those people who like it they're just playing it because it wins. Well, true. Or they're just, they don't have any skill. Well, that's not what we're actually talking about though, is it? So it's kind of like, there are these cards that you can say things like unhealthy, but if people are playing the game, Yu-Gi-Oh's alive and tournaments seem to be breaking a lot of records. These YCSs are selling out. And so that's the question, food for thought for the day, is like, what is actually like a healthy card game? Is it just because, you say a card's unhealthy or feels like it is to you personally? Does that actually mean that it is, or just that you think it is? and what makes your opinion more valid than the person at locals who enjoys Dimension Shifter or D Barrier. And to be clear in all of this, I'm not saying I think that the cards are like, one way or another.
I have a take, Paul.
Let's hear it.
I think I know what the healthiest Yu-Gi-Oh cards are.
What are the healthiest ones?
And like, guys, I'm gonna say this, and you won't be surprised, but you're not thinking it right now. It's Dark Magician and Blue Eyes. Do you know why?
Right.
Do you know why they're the most healthiest?
Why is that?
They sell the most product.
Yeah, that's an interesting take actually. So what you would say is that because those are the cards that move the most, units off shelves, is when like a Dark Magician or a Blue Eyes is on something. Mm-hmm. Those are like healthy cards.
The healthiest cards in the game.
And someone will say, well, that's not the same thing. You're just talking about like moving products, and I'm talking about game balance. But who said that like game balance was the priority here?
Game balance is actually accounts for so few sales in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Because, like, game balance doesn't matter if Yu-Gi-Oh's not selling, because then Yu-Gi-Oh will just, like, die if it's not selling, right?
Correct.
So game balance isn't actually indicative of the health of the game. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
but
or
it's
at least,
not.
I guess you could define the metric as, like, if we're measuring simply within the scope of game balance, then Dark Magician and Blue Eyes aren't relevant to that conversation. But still, I think we find ourselves with the same problem of, like, so even if we're talking game balance, that doesn't answer like the Dimension Shifter D Barrier thing.
Well,
right?
I can actually stretch my argument into that. I could argue the game is unhealthy because Dark Magician and Blue Eyes are not competitive, and if those are the drivers of product sales, people are getting these cards and building these decks, and then they're not competitive. They can't actually get into Yu-Gi-Oh with them. I say the game's unhealthy.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. Like I'm very curious. I guess to kind of circle back on something I was saying earlier, it's why I've been finding so much more joy lately in kind of people who follow like the APS Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I just something about getting people talking is so fun for me, because like I want people to really like kind of be critical on your thoughts on things. Like, think about what you're thinking about. Does that, you know what I mean?
But there's a character limit on Twitter, Paul.
Oh, yeah, that does suck, doesn't it? It makes it a little hard to talk about things when you're limited to any characters. You just got X premium, you don't have a character limit.
Are we shilling for Twitter now, too?
No, but, so my thing is just, like, it's fun to kind of posit these questions, and I love reading
X, my bad, X.
I love to read the responses, because it's just, like, you'll get people who are they staunchly believe that they are right about it. They very staunchly believe that. And,
I'm right.
And just like, you're the idiot, Paul. Or it might not even be me that they're like attacking. They might be attacking some other person.
I'll get attacked in the comments.
Yeah.
And then I'll delete them.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see though, like people get, I guess, very like you're wrong, Paul. This like one that I remember I posted some take the other day about like why I think like the crazy floodgates and blowouts kind of make the game like random and exciting and chaotic. And I never actually anywhere in my tweet said, and I was very careful to like word it this way. I never actually said that I think that like they shouldn't be banned, or that I think that, they are enjoyable to play against when you're at the tournament table. I just said that they have a place in the game because they make things chaotic and unpredictable. And so some people took that to mean like I was defending them and saying that like they're all great cards, or some people said, that there's so many people that were like angry, and then some people were like defending me, and then some people, and there was like a bunch of conversations, and I was just enjoying the show because I'm like, that's great. People are finally, taking some time to really like reflect on what it is that like they think this game ought to be or ought not to be, and like.
That's a nice way to like frame all the like flaming that was going on in that in the replies down there.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Some players hate each other.
Yeah, sometimes people get pretty mad at each other with this stuff, and sometimes they get like sarcastic and rude to each other. It's really weird. Like, I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, like, it's just like we all play the game. We might as well like have some fun talking about it. I don't think you have to insult anybody. I just try to get people talking.
I just lost it.
I got plenty more.
That actually reminded me of the kind of the tinfoil hat theory. It's floated around Yu-Gi-Oh for a while that Konami designs archetypes and cards to one day be banned. Like they specifically have like quotas of powerful cards or
do people think
crazy?
that?
Yeah,
Interesting.
that they have to make these. They make these meta defining cards, and they know that they'll have to hit them one day, and that's fine because by the time they're ready to hit these cards to 1 or 0, the next
will be like
crazy thing is right around the corner,
ready to ship out.
I mean,
do you think that's true?
I think there's probably some of that in product design because I remember like Chicken Game. Chicken Game is a card that really felt like it shouldn't have existed. It so easily got abused, and it felt like it was around just long enough to get people riled up. It got hit, and then we moved on. And at least for me, the next thing I was on was Mystic Mind because I was like, oh, look, this is like Chicken Game 2.0. What is this crazy card?
Well, sorry, were you finished with your thought?
Just about.
So I have a take on that too, now that you mention it. Somebody commented like the other week, they were saying that, like, I think we were talking about the ban list maybe, and somebody commented like, well, Paul, you said in this previous podcast that we should never be happy that a card got like that an archetype had to get its card banned or something like that.
Ooh, you a hypocrite.
Which is, that is something I'd said. And so I remember I was thinking about what this person said in the comment, and like, I think they were right. And it made me sort of think that maybe the real issue that I have with cards ever kind of having to get banned, it's kind of like, we really shouldn't be having to ban cards in 2023. Allow me to explain my stance. So, I'm not saying that there aren't cards that exist right now that should not be banned, right? Like, if they want to turn around tomorrow and ban Eradicator, I'm not, fine, whatever, do what you want. But I'm just saying that no card designed in the modern age of Yu-Gi-Oh should be banned because this is a mature game.
Right.
So you would think that, like, 20, 25 years in, Konami, they shouldn't, because like, your theory reminded me of this. Like, if they're making, they must be, I'm putting on my tinfoil hat here. I'm not actually,
We're gonna start having a tinfoil hat to put on.
Yeah, this is like the tinfoil hat episode. So if there are cards in 2023, a game that's like 25 years old, or about 20 years old in terms of like just the TCG card design.
It's the quarter century anniversary.
Don't let me forget. I would have otherwise. Konami's, like, they've made their mistakes, right? Like we've kind of gone through the growing pains. We've seen what happens when you make things like Zodiac Dryadent or whatever in the past, or the Dragon Rulers. So you think that card design from a certain point would just be so informed and so based on experience and repetition that there shouldn't, like, an Arise Heart should never have happened because they should have known very early on in R&D, okay, this just isn't okay, right? 3K, banish everything and can also selectively banish and keeps gaining materials.
Out of hand.
That should have been a very clear red flag. Like, there's no way that could have made it past testing unless, you know what I mean? Like where it's just like,
there's the theory again.
Unless there just was an intentional design, like we have kind of a quota, like we've got to make sure that this deck performs as intended at the tournament level for whatever reason.
Like if you look at everything else that was in Kashtira, it's like that Arise Heart wasn't the cherry on top. It was like a massive second cake on top of like the hugely decadent thing that was Kashtira.
Yeah, like it's kind of interesting. I think Kashtira as an archetype alone is annoying, but not like unbeatable by any means, right? I think that because Darkest Diablos is what I would maybe describe as an accidental sort of synergy with Kashtira. So we can write that off as like it actually was an unintentional part of design. Darkest Diablos is designed like a billion.
That's a different thing.
Diablosis. I'm so sorry.
Like I was like, wait,
Darkest Diablos. Yeah, sorry. I'm not talking about Darkest Diablos. I'm talking about Diablosis, the
That's
Mind
it.
Hacker.
Mind Hacker.
Yeah, my bad. Diablosis, the Mind Hacker, was designed like years before, and it was its own thing, and it was like a prize card or whatever. So like it was not designed around Kashtira, unless we really put our tinfoil hats on. And it was like we designed like
too many
6-7 years ago.
similarities.
But anyway, but yeah, I think that the interaction between like Shangri-Ira and Diablosis is kind of unintentional, it seems. It just happens to be like kind of busted and it can zone lock. So banning that cool, makes sense. But Arise Heart was designed, presumably, just alongside the rest of the Kashtira cards. And that's one where, like, I can't really shake the thought that they just went overboard on purpose, knowing that we're going to force this deck to be very powerful in tournament. And I think Kashtira without Arise Heart would have actually still been a tournament threat. Like, it'd be up there. But then they were like, okay, but like this isn't enough. Like, we need to make a card that just right. And so that's kind of where Arise Heart was born, is of this need to make sure that this deck has an extremely powerful thing. And we accept that it is going to probably have to get banned, but that will come later.
Because, I mean, it's very telling that people shifted to the Arise Heart control strategy. And it was a pivot in direction for the deck. But that strategy had a different set of merits, pros, and cons. It's like, that's weird, right? You're typically an archetype shouldn't be able to just hard pivot into another really strong strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it speaks more to the fact that Diablosis was kind of just the mistaken happy convenience thing that was like, more broken because it literally could just lock up zones, but
it was synergistic. It was Diablosis seems like a card that was designed with Kashtira more so than Arise Heart.
You know, that actually could be. You could say that's true too. You and I think
the real boss monster.
Well, I think Kashtira was designed around Diablosis. Maybe that's the...
Could very well be.
Because even though Diablosis was like a prize card from whatever year, several years before Kashtira might have even been conceived, I think that when they designed Kashtira, they probably looked at Diablosis and said, oh, we could create some synergy here. So maybe that could be a layer to it. What do you guys think? Like, and by the way, we're just talking here. What do I know?
Yeah, we're just chatting, man.
Yeah, like, what do I know? I mean, hey, listen, I don't work at Konami R&D.
Nobody's told us anything.
Yeah, and that's just true. Like, I have not actually heard anything. So do you guys feel like, was Kashtira designed around Diablosis? If so, I mean, that's cool. I don't know. There's just all kinds of things.
There are implications of whatever the truth of this is. We'll probably never know the answer. The implications are that decks that we currently play with and decks that will come out in the future may have cards that were, in a weird way, developed to be banned. Because, I mean, there was nowhere to put Arise Heart, right?
I mean, they tried to limit it.
When it
just didn't do anything.
Just didn't matter.
It didn't do enough, at least.
It feels like Arise Heart was designed for this eventual fate.
Yeah, it feels like it was an inevitability.
And I wonder, like, when's the next? What's the next? I feel like, to be clear, I don't feel like any cards in our metagame right now.
Yeah, nothing feels like it fits the bill now.
Yeah, that's like, oh, this is so powerful and so just out of left field, it needs to be banned. I think our current meta decks they can use some limiting, limit a card here or there. But I don't think anything just needs to be gone. Just right.
Although I will say this, one last thought on this.
Talking about Pearly, huh?
I was going to talk about Pearly. So, because Pearly's been in Master Duel, so I've been more exposed to it lately. Konami does have this thing. You can tell. So, as you guys know with Pirelli, I don't think Pirelli is the best deck in the TCG right now. I don't think anyone's saying that. But it's one of the top, contenders. And the main thing that's kind of curious to me is that none of the quick play spells have once per turn clauses. And also, the main monster, Pirelli.
It's a little white one.
The white cat just doesn't.
It's a cat?
It's an Eevee.
Oh, okay.
Whatever we want to call that.
What's Eevee?
So the main monster, Pirelli, it doesn't have a once per turn on its effects. And so it's just kind of interesting that the last time I remember Konami explicitly designing an archetype to not have hard once per turns when everything else at the time did was Sky Striker. And so it almost feels like it can't have been an accident that they didn't print a hard once per turn effect on any of these cards. So it kind of feels like maybe that was kind of their way of being we're just gonna make sure this deck can do a little, can do its thing.
It can do a little bit more than the average deck.
So just a thought. I don't know. I mean, by the way, I'm not a Pirelli hater. I'm not saying that they should ban all the cards. I'm just, just something to think about.
Yeah,
when
you
Konami
guys
does
know. Paul's a
suspiciously,
Maxi apologist, not a Pirelli hater.
that's right, that's true. So whenever Konami kind of suspiciously will just make one random archetype just not have hard ones returned, it's like, what were they cooking? So, yeah. Okay, I guess that's probably enough ban list
Yeah,
ranting.
yeah. Well, as we like dip into all sorts of different Yu-Gi-Oh topics.
Yeah, hey, listen, I think that's why people come to this podcast because, like, if you're here, you got to strap in for the ride. We're
just gonna go.
We're gonna go.
We'll start talking and we're gonna go.
It's funny, like, I know people aren't gonna believe this. This is like the tip of the iceberg of like what we talk about off camera with Yu-Gi-Oh. I have all
Yeah.
Alec, he knows. I just sit here and like think and
He lives and breathes this game, yo.
and one last thing because that does remind me, like we were saying, like all of this is just I'm just entertaining different arguments. That's all.
That's true.
Like not like to me, like no matter what happens tomorrow, I'm still gonna be playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So like it'll be fine either way. It's just I'm entertaining the idea that maybe this is a healthy card, or the idea that maybe that's a healthy card, or the idea that like you could view it that way or this way, or like so because stuff like that's more exciting to me than really actually being angry at the cards themselves. It's just more like I wonder like why they designed it this way. Like what is its role in? So okay, is there any other Yu-Gi-Oh news?
I can't think of anything. No.
Yeah, there's some small stuff I think.
You showed there were some like OCG plush things.
Yeah, they made a Magic Kuriboh plush and a Blue Eyes that goes along with it. So that's some OCG products. Those look cute. I'm gonna get them.
I wonder if we'll get them in the same way we got the Rescue Rabbits. Extremely limited quantities.
Oh, I doubt it. Konami doesn't seem like to bring anything over here. I saw some leaks from Phantom Nightmare. That's the kind of upcoming set, and they showed like a Sacred Beast card.
Is that just the GX set? Because I know we're getting Yubel in that
Yeah,
set.
Yubel support's in there. It seems like it's kind of just a GX sort of centric thing. Not too much beyond that, I guess. They showed a new playmat for the Rarity Collection. It's got Eldritch sitting on his throne of bodies or whatever it is.
Why they had to do Eldritch like that?
You don't like the Eldritch alt art?
I don't.
You like his original art? I always
Yep.
found his original art was kind of like he looks like Karaz the Light Monarch. He's just kind of
It does have that look, but I don't know. To me it projects like strength.
Oh, you feel like so the other one. So I like the alt art more because I feel like it reminds me of what is the Monarch? Eidos or
Which one?
the large
Erebus?
dark Erebus, like where they're kind of like he's sitting on a throne. He looks bored, which to me kind of almost suggests like he's so rich and he's so powerful. He's over all of this.
Yeah, but no one's looting Erebus.
Wait, do they loot?
Yes.
Oh, they loot?
Yes, they do.
Eldritch?
Yes.
I didn't know they did that.
Yes,
I mean, I
they
saw
do.
that one meme where it was like anyway. Yeah, I mean, I like his alternate art. I think it's nice.
They weren't looting Eldritch before then. Well, maybe some people were, but not many.
So now they're looting him, and
Now you can have a whole playmat. Eldritch Centerfold.
so yeah, I saw they're doing a Rarity Collection launch event, which I think is a good thing. It seems like it's gonna kind of be the big set of the year to kind of cap it off. So a launch event sounds like a good call. I don't think there's any
It's
other
like the
Yu-Gi-Oh
perfect
news.
capstone to the quarter century anniversary.
Except that half the products continue into next year anyway, so it's kind of a little desynchronized. Don't know exactly what this anniversary is, but
It's the 25th. I just told you.
well, how about we celebrate some other nostalgia with Pokémon TCG Classic?
Where?
Have you heard about this? Well, I would give it to you, but it's not quite out yet. However, the pre-orders have sold out. So, Pokemon TCG Classic is an eye-watering $400 set. It's already sold out.
$400.
So yeah, this is a premium Pokemon TCG Classic set that was announced earlier this year. It says it offers something that looks like it might be suitable for the game's more adult audience. You'll certainly need to be an adult to afford it, though, as it's now up for pre-order on the Pokemon Center website at a ridiculous price of $400.
I'm fairly certain there's some rich children out there that can go get them a $400 set of cards.
Well, listen, here's what you get. You get
Not me. I didn't have 400 to burn.
So you get 7 new cards, including Ho-Oh EX, Lugia EX, Suicune EX, Drops in the Ocean, Scorching Charcoal, Sunseed, and a Mr. Mime card.
Oh, that's cool. Some new exclusive cards.
Yeah, there are also 3 60-card decks that feature the classic starters of Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise, all presented with art from their original release.
Charizard's the only one that matters. Well, I guess people like Blastoise.
You'll also find 3 deck boxes to store them in.
Okay.
Alongside 3 sets of card
Are
sleeves.
the deck boxes made of gold?
Good question. The most exclusive elements are a 2-player game board, a toolbox case with a randomizer.
I don't know what that means.
I think for maybe like doing dice stuff or like anytime there's like attacks. I don't know. A couple of sets of damage counter cones and a couple of sets of condition markers.
Oh, so all of that is made of gold.
Must be. This is $400. So you can pre-order this thing. I don't understand where the fucking price is coming from.
Like, is it made of like mahogany? Like, what? Are there pictures? Do we know what this looks like?
I mean, no. Like, I mean, they're just like pictures of the products, but like you're not getting.
Is the Gucci logo? Like, is it?
Yeah. So our editor, they actually told me about this a couple weeks back because, like, you know, they follow Pokemon news. I listen.
Wow.
I don't. $400? Like, what are you? Because I mean, it's 3. So you're getting 3 60-card decks. So if we kind of equate that to maybe a Yu-Gi-Oh starter deck or something, it'd be like $12. And then I guess you get deck boxes and sleeves. Right. I'm trying to find where the $400 tag comes from.
I mean, there are 7 like new cards,
but they're promos. So like, I don't know that would
be. If they're good, then that's pay to win, right? Like,
maybe you would think. But I've left out the best detail. There's also a disclaimer that, quote, cards included in Pokemon TCG Classic cannot be used at official tournaments, except for the basic energy cards. So keep that in mind.
So what's the point? What?
Yeah.
7 new cards that are not even used. Why'd you even make new cards then?
Well, the cards in the decks aren't usable. Nothing is.
But like,
except the energies.
What's the point of having cards you can't play again? I feel like we've had this discussion before.
This gives big Magic 30 vibes.
Yeah,
this gives big Magic 30 vibes, like of just, you know, like just we're strictly selling you nostalgia, and you can't even play that shit in a tournament.
It's kind of crazy. Now I guess you can use the lands, but why can't you use the rest? Why, if you can? No, I said lands. Come to Magic. If you can use the energy cards, why can't you use the rest? Like, what's so crazy here?
That's what I don't understand. Is it because I think maybe it's because the classic cards are like old, like they're actually remakes of the old cards, so maybe the power creep wouldn't allow it, or maybe they're using mechanics that like they used back in.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, that's my only guess. If
that's true. Like, power creep is crazy in Pokemon.
But still, though, would they not still just be allowed? Because
maybe they mean that the cards won't be in like rotation.
Okay. If somebody in the comments who like follows TCG kind of gameplay, Pokemon TCG gameplay, could inform us, I would really like to know what is, like, please quantify the value for me here in this $400 set. Because while, yes, it's not $1,000 Magic 30 scam, it's still like, I'm not really sure what the sales pitch here is.
And again, collecting Pokemon cards is way bigger than playing the Pokemon TCG, so maybe it's fine if you can't play them.
Yeah, maybe it is. I still don't get the price, though. Like, that still feels kind of like price setting.
I mean, it's definitely price setting. I'd like to see, but I guess I'll withhold some judgment. I haven't seen what the product looks like. Because if it looks like it's worth $400, maybe I can come around on it.
Yeah, I would like to, I'd like to know more just about it. I mean, like, because 151 is something I wanted to kind of buy a little bit of, but those cards are actually playable and they're reasonably.
You owe me 151 cards.
Why?
I held a box the other day.
Wow. So. Yeah, please, someone please make it make sense. Let's see. Is there anything else about that? I mean, I guess maybe they're just trying to, like, it's like a Christmas gift thing. Because I think it comes out in November.
A $400 Christmas gift.
But you know, someone will do that.
I don't like anybody that much.
There's supposed to be a similar product released in February of next year that I think is like a different version of it or something that everybody can buy, but these are like pre-order currently.
Actually reminds me of my next story.
So, yeah, I was in this by saying, I don't understand the value, but if somebody can explain it to me, until then, I'm going to call out all of these game companies when they do weird things like this. Because to me, this feels not much different than Platinum Dark Magician or Magic 30. I think that they're all bizarre, nostalgia pandering, like overpriced
price setting
products.
BS.
So
until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
So that actually reminded me of my next story. Because you said like holiday gift type deal.
Right.
So Magic is actually showing off new Lord of the Rings cards.
New?
Yeah, and Jurassic Park cards.
Oh, okay.
So they're having, as part of their like holiday kind of set releases, they have a holiday set that's based on Lord of the Rings. This was revealed during MagicCon Vegas. They have the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Holiday Scene Box and other related products. They preview cards from their last Caverns of Ixalan. I can't pronounce magic words. And they even teased their Secret Lair releases for Doctor Who and The Princess Bride. Now, I know you don't know what either of those two things are, Paul.
Only vaguely.
But I also don't know. I've never watched Doctor Who. I know there's something about like doctors and therapists and there's supposed to be a lot of them and one of them's black now. I don't get it, but I know a lot of people do. So y'all can just tell us in the comments what Doctor Who
black
is.
now, not like Black Aragorn controversy type black, but like black in the.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I have like scant bits of Twitter knowledge when it comes to Doctor Who, and they're very scant. But the comments will tell us, and the ones I don't like, I'll delete. But yeah, The Princess Bride was a movie that Alex watched, and he really liked, and I never watched it because he watched it. So that's just how it is. If he does something, I can't do it. But once again, Magic's doing more collabs, and seemingly what we thought was a limited collab, like the Lord of the Rings like collaboration, it has extended to this holiday season. That also means that essentially any Magic the Gathering collaboration they've done could just happen again. I mean, we were talking about My Little Pony last week. That was their second My Little Pony collaboration.
Well, but it had new cards at least.
Yeah, new cards. But that means that once Magic has done something, they may
like
very
on the
well
table
just
to revisit.
Yeah,
later.
it can be sequelized.
So something that I actually read in the comments last week, shout out to all of you guys who left it, was that apparently for some Magic players at least, so the way that, last week when we were talking about the My Little Pony collab, I was saying how like it's cool that Magic gets all these collabs, which I do still believe, but people did give me an alternative perspective that I'm kind of coming around to, which is that they don't actually like all the collabs because they feel like it sort of dilutes the Magic like just brand, because they'll collab with anyone and can kind of like cheapen the effect. Oh. And they're also complaining about how like sometimes, I don't know, complaining is a strong word. They were expressing dissatisfaction with the fact that sometimes the collabs kind of get in the way of other product releases, or
my understanding is that Wizards releases a stupid amount of products though. Like
that's its own kind of issue people have with Wizards. So it was kind of interesting because people did a good job of explaining it to me, and I think that I do now have a bit of a different stance on it, where like the collabs are cool, but I see how they might kind of make the identity of Magic be a little bit all over the place.
Right.
And so I remembered the professor at Tulare Community College had made a video actually about this back when Lorcana released, and it was an interesting thing that he said. So he was saying, it was like a video about like, is Lorcana going to kill Magic? This is like when it was first announced.
Is Magic dead?
And his answer to the question was, no, obviously it's not going to kill Magic.
Okay.
And Magic is nothing to really be worried about. But that he said the bigger concern in that video that he mentioned was that people mistook these Lorcana cards for Magic cards. And that might seem like, okay, so what?
Oh, the people might think they're like a secret lair.
Because people might think it's just one of Magic's mini collabs or whatever. And so then he went on to kind of explain how because Magic does so many wild collabs, and oftentimes in those collabs they will change the card frame and border and like text style and everything and fonts to kind of accommodate that collab. It can actually make it seem like Magic is
being stripped of its identity.
Being stripped of some of its identity. So I thought that was just an interesting just an interesting perspective. I don't know. I'm not. As somebody who does not play the game, I guess I don't have any strong ties to like its. Like I don't like Magic needs to stay.
Paul. Wait. No. I feel very strongly about this. Magic players, look at me. Don't look at him. Look at me. Look at me. Locked in here. Do not let them strip your game of its identity and its culture. Because we did that in Yu-Gi-Oh. My creepy dark fantasy card game turned into a high-powered mecha waifu fest with dragons. Like, if there's anything you guys can do, please stop them. Don't let them take the identity of your game, because in a few years it'll be unrecognizable and you either roll with it or you just play GOAT format.
Alec is just bitter that he lost his
I liked creepy Yu-Gi-Oh.
Cards. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't play Magic, so can't really weigh in too much. I will say though that I get kind of where someone might be dissatisfied with that. I mean, I think that some, and this is subjective of course, but I think that some collabs are a better fit for Magic than others. Like, My Little Pony feels so like left field, and even Jurassic Park.
I mean,
but then like Lord of the Rings felt like a pretty natural fit.
I don't know. Like, I feel like if we did some like market research, you might find that there's actually quite a few Magic players who fall into like the brony category.
Sure, I don't have the market research in front of me.
I don't. We haven't done the research, but like I remember I was in community college when like the brony epidemic really took off. I guess it was like, I'd call it an epidemic. Maybe it was a pandemic. Regardless, the brony thing kind of took off.
Maybe it was a pandemic. Jesus.
And I was in the card game space at my community college, and I mean, at one point, pretty much everybody I played card games with was a brony.
Were you a brony?
No. Come on, man.
Well, you said everybody, so you make it sound like surely you would have tried.
No, to this day, I have yet to see an episode of My Little Pony, but that's not for the lack of them trying to convert me.
Well, all I'm going to say is I read those comments, and they were enlightening. So as for these Christmas Magic products, you going to be picking any up? Do any of these like franchises speak to you?
I believe there will be more Aragorn cards, and so I will have to pick up as many copies of Black Aragorn as I can.
Will he even be black again, I wonder?
I think there was a picture, so I know.
Oh, he is.
There was a picture. So
I was gonna say I wouldn't have been surprised if like post controversy they walked it back.
That'd be so wild.
Now companies do that shit. Do you remember the story about when Target like came under fire for like the LGBT stuff, and during Pride Month they had like LGBT shirts out like in the front of stores?
Oh, I remember that. And then they took everything to the back.
And someone got like violent about it because they didn't like that. How dare you have these Pride shirts in front of the store? And so someone was like harassing or even attacking employees, and so they moved all the LGBT stuff to the back of the store. But then in doing so, that kind of signals that maybe you really weren't about it the whole time.
Guys, corporate allyship is a joke. It is not real.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway, is that none of these corporations really care that much for any particular cause beyond getting your money.
The only color they care about is green.
But, yeah, so, I don't mind that Magic gets collabs, but I am not so vested in it that I really deserve to have much more of an opinion than that.
Protect your game. Protect its culture.
He says as he got the Black Aragorn. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey, look.
I'm having a laugh, just having a laugh.
Never claimed I'm not a walking contradiction.
Just having a laugh.
And a hypocrite.
No, I'm a hypocrite every day. I think that's...
Protect your game.
That's how it goes. Okay, so... well, I've got another interesting card game story.
What you got? I close my stories.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is getting a card game, a trading card game.
A card, and it's a Gwent. I think it's going to be in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
No, it's like getting a card game adaptation, like a tabletop game. So the tabletop game is officially called Final Fantasy.
Keep going.
Final Fantasy VII Remake board game Materia Hunter, and is available for pre-order on the official Square Enix website. The title will have people playing against up to 3 other players as the members of Avalanche. The website showed screenshots of the cards for Cloud Strife, Tifa Lockhart, Aerith, and Yuffie, while also highlighting the materia cards of the title. The players must compete to collect the most materia using abilities of the iconic characters. Each game could take about 30 minutes depending on how many people play. So, as resident Final Fantasy VII expert is in the building, Alec, what do you think about this trading card game and everything else about it?
Yeah, I have so much to say. I'm trying to pick it all apart. First off, I've never seen can we relax with Final Fantasy VII Square? Is it even remotely possible to acknowledge something else you have done other than Final Fantasy VII?
Ooh,
My God. Like, the thing is, I love Final Fantasy VII. I'm one of those people who call it one of the best Final Fantasies of all time. However, haven't we done enough?
Yeah, I think that Square really, really milks the Final Fantasy VII thing, but I think it's just because it ended up, I think, stumbling into being their most iconic game. Like, I don't know that they viewed Final Fantasy VII as like their magnum opus when they were making it or something.
There's no way, because it wasn't the best when it was released.
But like post, it's in the really like 10, 15 years after kind of its release, Sephiroth's the most iconic video game villain. Some would argue it's other characters, but I would say it's like Sephiroth. Cloud's kind of the iconic twink protagonist, blonde hair, huge sword, anime.
It was a great game. And I played Remake. I enjoyed Remake. However, we don't need Final Fantasy VII everything. This could have been a Final Fantasy card game, and I actually would have met it with the same criticism that I'm going to start with here. Stop turning every IP into a card game. We don't need it. It's unnecessary. It'll be dead on arrival, or if it's not dead on arrival, it muscles some other poor card game out of the space. And for what? For something that you're probably not even going to properly support, something that won't get a organized tournament circuit.
Yeah,
it's just to try and milk this whole TCG craze that, if you haven't noticed, is already dying down. It really is.
So two thoughts on that. First one being, there is a lot of Final Fantasy VII just stuff out now. I know last year they made the first Soldier. That was like the mobile shooter.
I played that
game. That ended, I think, didn't they?
Yes, it did.
Pulled the plug on that. I know they just released Ever Crisis.
I'm playing that.
I know that they remade Crisis Core, like kind of
Played
remake
that.
thing. And then they recently announced when Rebirth, the second part in the 3-part Final Fantasy VII Remake series, will be coming out. So there's a lot of Final Fantasy VII stuff to sink your teeth into if you were a fan of that. And it's good, but I think that this is probably just, I don't know. I'm not going to cheer for its downfall.
Oh, and now another thing. What do you mean Materia Hunter? Only Yuffie was obsessed with materia. That was kind of her thing. You didn't play that much. You didn't really play Final Fantasy VII, but that was one of her big things. Was she loved materia, loved collecting it. But the rest of them, materia was a tool. Cloud just put it in his sword. It was just there.
Yeah, well, listen, you're about to be materia hunting when you play this game. On your table. According to the official page for the title, there are 20 cards to use, 80 materia spread across multiple types, metal tokens, and more. The game is scheduled for an April 2024 release, but gamers can now pre-order the title. The release date means the card game will be released after the arrival of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the sequel to the first remake title. So...
Okay, well, that answer wasn't one of my questions. I was like, how are you making a game where you play as members of Avalanche, but you don't mention Barrett, who is the leader of Avalanche?
Yeah, that's racist.
But
I mean, no, I'm sure he'll be in the game.
And then, how do you have 20 characters when there aren't 20 members of Avalanche?
Well, for some reason, Sephiroth's going to be a card.
What, is Biggs and Wedge going to be characters? That's going to be underwhelming.
There probably will be characters.
Now, Jessie can be a character because now she's really popular, but
I mean...
But that doesn't change the fact that I don't like all these new card games.
So that actually leads me to my second kind of major thing on this. Isn't there already a Final Fantasy card game?
Yes, there is.
I see it at our card shop.
It's
there's
there.
a
No
Final
one plays
Fantasy like card game. I don't think anyone really plays it. Maybe it's like a cool collector's thing. So where does this stand in relation to that? Like, are they going to be ending that?
No, because Final Fantasy VII is its own monolith, separate from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and that's what I think has become the ultimate Square thing, is that like the 7 games are their own thing, and then there's the Final Fantasy games, and I don't know how I feel about that.
They supersede Final Fantasy, and I imagine that kind of rubs a lot of people the wrong way. To some extent, I can't. I'm a hypocrite because, as I mentioned before, I've participated in just about every little Final Fantasy VII thing you can. I was reading transcripts of the, what was that, Before Crisis, the phone game that was only in Japan. Like, I've done my share of harm of promoting Final Fantasy VII more than it probably should be.
I mean, my thing is, like, I like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I never even played 7 on PS1. I had a friend who
Which is such a
loved
shame. You should play it. It's a great game. It's been ported multiple times. You can just... Wait, I'm doing it again.
Square won't let me forget.
I'm doing it again.
Yeah, Alec is doing their sales for them. I mean, like, I played, or, like, kind of played Remake. I liked Barrett and Tifa. Or not, but no, Barrett and Aerith. Those are my favorite characters. Tifa's fine.
You didn't like Tifa? What is wrong with you?
No, I liked Tifa, but I thought Aerith... I like mage characters more than...
Well, Barrett's not a mage.
He's cool. He's black.
He's like guys with guns for hands, I see.
Yeah, there's not too many of those.
Man, it's rare. I wonder how he takes baths. I think he just takes the gun off.
Probably so. How do you install it on?
That's a great question. We don't ask, and we're not answering these questions.
But I mean, you know, I like the 7 remake thing, but what I do find when it comes to like following Final Fantasy news and like development of new games is that like, and someone's gonna hear this and probably like not really get what I'm saying. I kind of don't care to hear more new, like every time I hear news about Final Fantasy VII Remake or Rebirth or whatever is coming out on this date and here's all this information about it, I would really kind of rather hear about Final Fantasy 17, or I'd rather hear about like, or you know, if we rewind a year or so ago, 16, like when 16 was in development, I was more interested in hearing about 16, not Wins Remake Part 2. Like,
see, Paul, you don't get how it works. I'm gonna break it down for you. Just try and keep up, okay? This is how Final Fantasy works. It goes from I'm gonna say from top to bottom, most important to least important. So you have Final Fantasy VII, right? That's number 1. Final Fantasy VII. Then it's Final Fantasy 14. Okay, so it's from 7 to 14. Okay,
that's true.
All right, here we go. Now we go to 16. All right, so 7, 14, 16. All right.
I think it's 7, 14 than anything else.
All right. Now you know what comes next. 11. All right. So you go 7, 14, 16, 11.
Okay.
And then Final Fantasy 8. Oh, and then 12.
Okay.
No, wait. You could put 10. No, maybe 10 before 12. Yeah, 10 before 12.
This is what it's like talking to a Final Fantasy fan.
Look,
just be safe and stay on the outskirts. Don't play these games, people.
So my point is, like,
what about 15? I liked 15.
Final Fantasy VII is more important than all of what Final Fantasy has been, and is more important than what Final Fantasy will be, or at least that's how Square treats it.
I agree with that, and I don't love it, but I do love Aerith and Barrett. So
you, like me, you're also part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem. Although I don't think I've actually spent any money on them yet.
Wow. You just came for me like that?
Hey, I'm just saying. Didn't they? I mean, I know you were telling me in Ever Crisis, they're already doing that. They're making swimsuits for the characters and stuff.
Barrett does not have a swimsuit. Thank you very much.
Which is racist and a sin, by the way, because I wanted that. But like, seriously, I do think that the fact that they have now made a gacha game means that they're truly at like we're going to take 7 and just churn this money.
Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, they created characters for that world retroactively after the Battle Royale came out. And then only in this game do those characters get like names and like and like stories. And they created like young Sephiroth for this. So if we're doing that, anything can happen.
Yeah, and they know people love Sephiroth, so they know they want to see young
Like,
Sephiroth.
who's the next young character we're gonna get? Young Vincent? Oh my god.
So anyways, that's the Final Fantasy VII Remake trading card game. You going to be buying?
Yeah, I'll probably pre-order some.
I know. Well, got any other stories?
I'm just really deflated now.
As you realize that despite all the issues, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, listen, that's me with Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm bitch about this game every day, but you know what I do every night?
You do play Master Duel.
You up on Master Duel.
That man doesn't sleep until he plays Master Duel. It's crazy. It's his bedtime. It's his bedtime story.
Well, if you don't have one, I've got another card game.
That's great because I have an app that I store my stories on. It's not even loading.
Well, that's great because guess what? The next card game in the list is for today. Exclusive price reveal and closer look at pre-release box, booster packs, and more for
White Schwartz.
Star Wars Unlimited. Spark of Rebellion. I guess that's the name of the first. With the launch of Star Wars Unlimited approaching the horizon like the binary suns of Tatooine?
Yes, it's Tatooine.
Oh, I said it right the first time. We're excited to offer an exclusive first look at the products for the first set, Spark of Rebellion. Focuses on the timeline of the original trilogy. I don't know anything about Star Wars, so I'm just going to say this, and you can actually give context. It is not limited to the contents of episodes 4, 5, and 6, but will encompass canon media set in the same area.
Wait. Repeat the sentence before that.
Spark of Rebellion is the first set, focusing on the timeline of the original trilogy. It is not limited to the contents of episodes 4, 5, and 6, but will encompass canon media set in the same era.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
This means you won't see characters like Jar Jar Binks or Din Djarin, but you will see...
Can you please just say their names like they're regular people?
Din Djarin.
Oh, all right. You just said it like it was a question.
But
put respect on Jar Jar's name, please.
But we'll see others like Kanan Jarrus, leading with the most recognizable
Kanan.
I don't know shit about Star Wars. Leading with the most recognizable moments and characters means the game can appeal to the broader spectrum of Star Wars fans and leaves many doors open for future sets. Are you excited?
No.
Well, we spoke to Fantasy Flight Games about the first set of Star Wars Unlimited. Here's what VP of Strategy Jim Cartwright had to say about Spark of Rebellion and its first product line. That's a long quote. All right, I'm going to go through this fast.
Here we go.
The first year of Star Wars Unlimited is all about foundation building. We wanted to create the building blocks with our products to simplify the player experience, to onboard new players, and be very intentional with our product line. Our pre-release kits help build excitement for each of our sets and put a focus on the limited format that we build from the ground up. New players can jump right into the game with our 2-player starter that ensures they have a complete experience in a single product. And like all TCGs, the booster pack is at the heart of it all. Players with any budget, experience level, or collector preference will be able to expand their game the way they want by creating decks with their favorite characters and variants, and participate in regular or sealed draft events in our weekly play. While the product line may seem simple, it supports our strong desire to create a play experience for everyone. As the game matures, we already have a roadmap for future products and experiences in the coming years. We intend to support Star Wars Unlimited for a long time, and this simple product line helps us build the baseline for the future.
No.
What do you mean no?
No, I am not going to be drawn in on this.
Like, what? You're going to play Final Fantasy Materia Hunters, but not Star Wars Rebellion?
Don't you equate these two things. One, I'm hopelessly addicted to, and the other one is a beloved franchise. However, I have no inclination for playing a Star Wars.
You were just saying how the new Ahsoka episode or whatever.
It came out today. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, well, listen. Anyway,
but Ahsoka did release in Fortnite, and I'll be unlocking that probably tonight.
So you're caring about all this, but you won't play Star Wars Rebellion.
I have too many card games on my play. Okay, look, I'm gonna look at the. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I'm gonna look at the base set, what they're offering, if I see cards that look appealing for my collection, I might pick up some cards.
Give it a crack. Okay.
But no, I
give it a crack.
will not be playing the game. To be 110% clear,
Wow.
I will definitely not be playing the game unless someone's like, you can build the deck of like I don't know how the game is played, but if I could build a deck of like Mandalorian characters, or even a deck of clone troopers. Well, you can't build clone troopers because this would be encompassing the original trilogy. They'd be stormtroopers, and stormtroopers are kind of like Nazi soldiers, and I don't want to be a Nazi. But I know if I did live in that time period, I probably would try and join the military. So I guess in a weird way, I would end up a stormtrooper.
So
but that wouldn't
way
be
of
great.
saying that you are going to probably give this card game a shot.
No,
Okay.
I absolutely not. I won't do it.
Well, I would love to hear if anybody in the audience is planning on it, because I sure am not. But, okay, so there's going to be 3 products planned for launch: a pre-release box, a 2-player starter, and a Spark of Rebellion booster pack.
You said a 2-player starter.
Correct.
I'm not interested, guys. That was not.
Yeah, the 2-player starter includes 2
interested.
pre-built 50-card decks, including Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader as leaders.
Oh, thank God. I don't like either one of those guys.
Damage counters, quick start rules, 2 paper mats, 2 folded deck boxes.
See, I don't like the phrase damage counters. Damage counters means that's more little things I have to keep track of.
Oh, the booster packs have 16 cards each.
Oh, those are very like rewarding booster
Thick
packs.
booster
Lots
packs.
of cards.
A leader, a base,
It does
a
not
foil
matter.
card, 1 rare or legendary, and a mix of commons and uncommons.
They have leaders like it's a commander type format, so I can pick my
Oh,
favorite
you can
character
actually
to
see
build
what
a
the
deck
character.
around
Okay,
them.
whoa. So actually, they have some pictures of the cards.
Let me see. I'm just curious.
Like here's like Admiral. So it's original art. Like that's Admiral Hacker.
That's Admiral Akbar.
Wait, is that what it's? Oh wait, what's? Oh shit. Admiral Akbar.
Admiral
Akbar.
Can't
Here's
stand you.
Leia.
Leia.
How do I know?
Princess Leia.
Yeah, there she is.
I do like that it does have original art, guys. I was worried that they would use these like kind of. You guys know what some card games do, but these are like seeming like fresh artwork that I've never seen before, which is nice. That doesn't mean I'm gonna get in on it. It does not mean that whatsoever.
If this is a live stream, I'd be like, press 1 if you think he's lying.
Wow.
Leave a comment pressing 1 if you think Alec is lying. He's definitely gonna be addicted to this shit. Or he's gonna give it a crack.
Can't be. I have too many card games as it is.
Well, anywho.
I don't even have a Lorcana deck, and
I've been trying to get, not for lack of trying. I've been trying to get one myself.
I haven't really tried, to be honest. I
mean, I went to the store once after like Larry said he found one, and then I couldn't find it there. 'Cause
If
it was sold
Lorcana
out.
had Treasure Planet in it,
Which it will soon.
if it did, I
Which it
could
will.
probably be, or maybe Atlantis. Okay, maybe I could be convinced, but it doesn't, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, never. Though I do think Treasure Planet deserves it. It's a great movie. It's my favorite Disney movie, and it should be yours too. And if you hate Treasure Planet, then I hate you. And if you can fight me in the comments, don't bother. I'll delete them.
Well, anyway, that's the story. You got anything else?
My app isn't even working right now.
Well, that's great because it's time for us to reach into the pot.
Don't grab it. Okay.
Yeah, time for us to reach
Our,
into
our
the
pot has seen better days. We have to be careful with it now.
We're going to draw 2 cards each, answer some more of you commenting questions.
Oh, I probably should have added more to the pot. I don't know how many is in here.
Oh, yeah, we might have, like...
It might only be... Oh, no, there's still a few.
We might have just enough.
All right. What you got, Paul?
Favorite childhood bad card?
Ooh. So, when I was a kid, my favorite card, I think, was Dark Necrofear.
Yeah, that was a pretty tough one to use.
But I loved it. I loved it so much.
I'm not sure I remember. I feel like my decks were just bad in general.
But, like, was
But
there
if
a
I had, like, a
card that you
single
just
card-
really tried to make work, even though it just didn't?
This one's a bit far out, but I remember like really just wanting to like use Rapid Fire Magician. Do you remember that? I had an
That was
ultimate
from
rare,
the
early
spellcaster
GX.
starter deck, right?
Yeah, I think so.
The fire one.
Rapid Fire Magician. It like gets.
It's fire, right? Like fire attribute.
I think it's dark,
Oh, maybe not.
but like it's called Rapid Fire Magician. I think it like gets spell count. It sucks, but I just liked it because I had an ultimate rare version for some reason. I don't know if I'd pulled
Yu-Gi-Oh
it
packs
or
were crazy.
something, but it looked really cool. So I was like, I'm just gonna run this in every deck. Like, you ever have a card that you pull and you're just like, it's pretty, so I'm running it in every deck. Like as a kid, I mean.
I didn't have that many decks.
Oh well, I don't even know that I had a lot of decks. I just knew that. Okay, that's another thing. When I was a kid, I don't think I actually had multiple decks because as a kid, it was always your deck. So like your deck would simply
just
change
evolve.
and evolve, but certain cards would always.
For me, my decks would just get like taken or thrown away.
Sometimes mine got washed.
It's like between like my dad and my teachers, they kept taking my cards.
So, yeah. What's your question?
My turn. So it says, are erratas a good thing or a bad thing? So that's actually a kind of funny question because see, my first answer is they are a good thing, but when I think about it for a second, well, I'm not so sure anymore. I think erratas to fix cards that are worded they're not worded the way they're supposed to be, like based off the Japanese translation. Those are good erratas. Erratas to neuter some of the most iconic cards in our game to make them like pale imitations of their former selves, just so they can be legal. I don't like those. I don't like them one bit.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So I have literally zero disagreements with you. I think that when it comes to like correcting a little typo or kind of a small interpretation of an effect or something, yeah, great. I think those should be errated. I think that they're that just it's working as intended type of stuff. Mm-hmm. All those terrible erratas they did back in like I think the year was maybe 2015, at least when we got them. Of just all those old cards, the crush card virus.
What's your least favorite of those erratas? Like the one that just
the one that really grinds my gears. It's hard to decide. Okay, but I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be crush card virus. I think crush card virus got so heavily just reworked and ruined that it really is not even the same card. It doesn't it just doesn't make sense, and they actively made it where your opponent can. That's the weirdest part about that crush card errata to me. It says like, okay, you tribute your dark and you get to destroy the things with X amount of attack, but your opponent can then pick if they want to destroy up to 3 monsters in their own deck. So you'll just be helping them, or they just won't do it. But why would your opponent get to pick when it's supposed to be a virus card? It's supposed to be
that's like getting corona, and you can just choose whether or not to see symptoms.
Yeah, no, so I think that was probably the most just truly gutted, but they were all gutted pretty bad.
The one that upsets me the most, Chaos Emperor Dragon.
That was gonna be like my second pick. It's just ugh.
Oh my god!
Shell of its former self.
Such a powerful and polarizing monster to be reduced to that, now it's around. Chaos Emperor is around and nobody cares. It's not like Judgment Dragon didn't need any type of errata.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Chaos Emperor. Here's what I think the problem with those erratas really was: the time period that they were trying to errata them in, of that kind of late 2014, 2015 kind of time, was they were overbalancing because you could tell they were just so scared of the idea that these cards would cause some problem.
But they were banned.
Yeah, and it doesn't compute with me because I say just keep them banned, but maybe they had this initiative of trying to clear things off the ban list. But I think that when you do that, you're just ruining the legacies of these cards, and they just end up in this weird quagmire middle ground that just doesn't. They're nothing anymore.
Disgusting.
And I also hate that even in the 25th anniversary collection this year, if you pull Chaos Emperor, it's the errated one, and so it just kind of
that's not the move, Konami.
It just kind of kills it. So.
Same
with DMOC. And
others. My god.
Yeah.
Just on your end phase.
DMOC got gutted as well. It just they completely nerfed it.
Yeah, guys, we used to like Erratas. We don't like them anymore.
All right. Yeah, I think you get the last card. But this question is archetypes that have the wrong attribute or type.
Hey, say it again?
What are some archetypes that have the wrong attribute or type? There's a few that kind of like, I feel like I think about this a lot.
All right, I'll drop it. It's fine. So I think there's one that's kind of obvious. TR elements should have been zombies.
I think I'm trying to think of one that kind of means something more to me because I don't know. TR elements, I can take them or leave them. I guess like sometimes it's just weird when stuff just gets labeled as warrior or labeled as spellcaster because it kind of like, okay, Incredible or Ecclesia. I play Dogmatica, right? So
she does not seem to cast any
Dogmatica
spells.
Ecclesia the Virtuous. She's a spellcaster, but like what?
Well, I guess she has that whole like stigmata thing. Like in the lore, that's like magic-ish, I guess.
And then like Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis is a spellcaster.
But she also has a stigmata.
Yeah, but is she casting spells? And that, so I've always kind of felt that they just don't really seem like, and even like they're like ritual monsters. Like you're telling me Dogmatica Albazoa is a spellcaster? It's like a fiend.
I mean, there's magic at play there.
So
not good magic. I don't like that magic, not one bit.
So I've always kind of found that's like an off typing. It just seems like they should be like more so warriors and fiends and stuff. But I mean, I think like Dogmatica Maximus is like a spellcaster, but
oh, for sure.
But like that's
evil spellcaster.
You got any?
I'm really trying to think. There's something that's not like coming to me, but it's like an obvious one for me, but I can't think of it. I can't.
Well, at any rate, I mean, there's like a lot of archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh where I used to get the impression that it was kind of more for balancing. They just didn't want to make something a certain type because it just might sort of, like I can barely even tell why sword swords are worms. I'm not gonna lie. Like they just don't really.
They're worms, so they're not dragons. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, they don't really look like worms that much to me, but sure, why not?
They're worms, so they can't be dragons.
Well, anyways, what's your question?
Oh, so this is I guess the last card from that time where I just added in questions because I forgot to get them off YouTube. So this one just says, "What's your favorite Kuriboh?"
My favorite Kuriboh?
Yeah, what's your favorite Kuriboh? I actually do have an answer for this, mostly because I wrote it. But
yeah, I don't play. I mean, I don't. Magic Kuriboh's probably mine.
Okay, more of an aesthetic thing.
Just because like it ties in a Kuriboh with the Dark Magician support, so I think like in terms of theming, that feels right. That like Kuriboh would kind of be like a companion friend to the Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl.
My favorite Kuriboh is actually obvious because I've mentioned it multiple times before.
Okay, it's not obvious enough for me to know.
It is Curry Bandit.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, good.
I've always liked Curry Bandit.
Curry Bandit is cool.
Since it came out, was that World Superstars? No, it was around that time, but it wasn't World Super. I forget what set that was, but I remember when it came out.
Oh man, I remember. I'm trying to think.
Was it in the same set as Absolute Back? It was same set as Absolute Backjack. Whatever that set was, I don't remember anymore. But they came out. Curry Bandit was my favorite card. I think that might have been the first Battles of Legend. And Curry Bandit, I was like, this card's good. Like, this card has to be like pretty good. But no, it wasn't that good.
Or like it wasn't even Battles of Legend yet. The set was called like Dragons of Legend.
Dragons of Legend. That does sound.
And it feels like because it had like Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, or not?
Wait, no. This was with Timaeus, Hermos, and Critias.
Yeah, like it came out.
Eye of Timaeus, the Fang of Critias, and the Claw of Hermos.
Yeah, it was like Dragons of Legend. Yeah, Curry Bandit was good. I remember it was used in like Shaddols and stuff really early on.
And I remember that's what I wanted to use it for. I wanted to put it in my Shaddol deck, but it was like a little slow. I can't remember the exact reasoning on why it didn't work exactly the way I wanted it to, but I ran anyway because I love its design. It's a little bandit Kuriboh. It looks like it has bad intentions.
Yeah, looks like it has bad intentions. I like Magic Kuriboh. It's cute. All the different Kuribohs are fun. I always thought Yu-Gi-Oh needed to do more with Kuriboh, I think, as a mascot. Like, they've been doing it more so recently, but, like, really, like, sell this thing. It can be cute when you want it to be.
Or it can be scary.
You know what's funny, actually? There's one last bit about Kuriboh. If you notice, it's original art, and the way it's depicted today are just, like, night and day different.
Yeah, it's very different.
It's, like, original art looks like a lot more...
It's creepier.
Just creepy and kind of
it's
hypnotizing feeling.
I don't know if you've ever
almost.
seen the Addams Family, but it's like a smaller cousin it.
Yeah, whereas like nowadays the new Kuriboh looks like like they draw its eyes entirely differently and like
it feels very much in line with Wing Kuriboh from GX. Much more like happy, mascotty.
I would almost say it's the difference between a fiend and a fairy. Like
yeah,
Kuriboh is a fiend monster, and back in 2002, it looked like it's a creepy little furry fiend. Whereas like now, I would just buy that it's a fairy. Not that that's a bad thing. I think it does a better job for marketing, but it's
I
certainly
miss
different monster.
creepy Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, so I can I'll take either one. Like I don't mind either Kuriboh.
Yeah, okay,
It's both cool.
Well, I think that was a great softball question to end this pod on.
Agreed. Like we said, guys, next week we'll be in a
completely different set.
Totally different
we might be
location.
outside. No, we're not going to be outside. I can't stand
what
the
if we
sun.
were? I don't have to put my shoes on. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
You're not wearing? No, you're wearing your shoes. Okay.
Let us know what you guys thought of any of the topics that we talked about today. It's been a whole bunch of fun. And make sure that you watch the Rush Duel video on the main channel.
Yeah, check that out, guys. Please.
Yeah, please, we could use it.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Pat's turn.